welcome back to our channel. I'm Tashina.
And I'm Portia.
And this is the Dark Side of Humans. So today, we're going to be doing the Keddie murders.
Yeah, and if you guys are squeamish, hit stop right now, because we're going to be covering kind of gruesome details.
Gruesome.
It's gruesome.
So, if you guys don't like gruesome, why are you even on this channel?
Right now. Press stop.
Like, why would you hit Dark Side of Humans? But anyways, I believe that whoever hit this button wants to hear this, so let's get started.
Imagine being a teenager and you walking into your new home that your mom up and moved you to, and you find half your family murdered.
We have the same one. I was going to start it off like that too.
Okay. So in 1981, Sheila Sharp came home from staying the night at her friend's house and found her mom, her brother, his friend, and her younger sister. Well, the mom, the brother, they were all dead. Her younger sister was missing. But she had two younger siblings, and their friend was asleep in their bedroom.
They were unharmed.
Unharmed. Now, this wasn't just a gruesome scene. It was blood on the ceilings. The knife that had been used to stab the mother, the brother, and the brother's friend was bent, was broken.
They left the hammer there.
There
were stab wounds on the walls.
Yes. And how do you think those kids slept through that? I know kids.
I don't know. Because a few neighbors down said they heard screams, muffled screams.
But
the kids didn't. But the kids, yeah, they said they didn't know where it was coming from, and it was like real quick, and they just went back to bed. But the boys they were literally in the next room,
and they stayed asleep.
And only one mouth. Her name is Sue. She had her underwears and a bandana shoved in her mouth and
taped.
Mom,
yeah.
But the other boys,
they were tied up with.
Yeah, but their mouths
weren't bound. But they were tied up with wire. The Sue, which is the mom, Johnny, which is the brother, and his friend Dana. They were all tied up with electrical wiring.
And Johnny and Dana was tied together. Their feet were bound together.
Yeah. Now, mind you, this is in the town of Keddie, California. Population 66.
Yes. 66.
10% of the population just got murdered.
Somebody in that town knows who did. 66.
Everybody in that town knows who killed these people.
66 people.
But this murder is still unsolved. No one has been arrested for this murder. Now, let's get into the younger sister, Tina, who, when Sheila came home, was missing. They looked everywhere for Tina, couldn't find her.
Let's get this though. When Sheila goes in the house, finds the family, calls the police come. She tells them, "I don't know where my little sister is. My little sister's not here." It took them almost 2 hours to realize. The cop ignored Sheila.
And she's not little, she's a teenager.
No, she's what?
So
15 or 12, one of those.
So she totally ignored everything.
So then a couple hours go by, then they realize, oh, the girl's missing. So a whole 2 hours of them searching for this little girl just went out the window.
Her remains were found 3 years later, 3 years and 9 days to the anniversary of the murders. And a tip got called in. Someone called in and said, "Hey, we found Tina's skull." How do you know it's Tina's skull?
Yeah.
Unless you murdered the family.
And the tape of that call went missing. Now, just recently, the hammer was found and the tape was found buried. Just recently. So they just opened the case back up. Now, this was a cover-up through the whole beginning of this whole thing.
So from the start, the suspects that they had was Bobo Betty. That is real. Bobo Betty.
Well, first
Martin.
So first when it started, they thought first they wanted to say who was the target of this crime. First they thought it was Tina. They thought maybe that somebody really wanted to molest the little girl. Their thing was to go on to get the little girl, but they were interrupted. So the first suspect was her teacher. Her teacher was obsessed with her, had a picture at his desk and a picture of her at his house. So he was the first suspect. Like, hold on, this doesn't seem right.
I think it was 3 suspects in this case.
Yeah, so
again, this town got 66 people. They
right.
all know each other.
Right. Girl, somebody felt guilty and called and said, "Look, her skull's over here."
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was the first suspect. No, first the daddy was the first suspect. The daddy. Let's do some back. So Sue.
Track back. Sue left the daddy who was beating her.
Right. Sue's 36, single mother of 5. She lived in Connecticut. She tried to make it work with her husband. Her husband was beating her, but then he started sexually assaulting her daughters, molesting her daughters. She said, "That's a wrap. I'm getting out of here."
She dipped out.
So she left, and her brother lived in Northern California. He lived in the town over from Keddie. So she moved with him, and then moved to Keddie to try to start new and start over. So of course, the first suspect is going to be Boo, the daddy. But he was out of town, nowhere close to Keddie, nowhere even close to where it happened. So then they move on to the teacher, because at this time they're still thinking that Tina she was a target of this crime. The rest
and
of
they're
them,
still thinking she's alive because she was not found.
Yes, she wasn't found. She's still missing. So they go to the teacher.
What would you have done if that was your sister missing? Like, what would you have done?
I would have hit the cop. I would be like, "My sister is missing." Seriously, I would be like, if I told them and they ignored me, I'm not going to sit silent. I'm going to go to everybody. "My sister is missing."
I'm too loud.
My sister is missing. My sister is missing. That would be coming out of my mouth over and over.
I'm entirely too loud.
But she's a 12-year-old little girl.
They would have got tired of me.
Yeah, she's a 12-year-old little girl that just found her family murdered. So, and when she first went in there, she didn't even know her mom was in there. She didn't even know who. It was just her brother. Her brother was right at the doorway, and then she seen the friend. The mom was over there by the couch, and she had a yellow blanket over her. So it was kind of like she didn't know who was all dead at the time. Also, when she walked in, they were covered in so much blood, they couldn't determine who was who. I mean, this was a brutal beating. They were stabbed. They were bludgeoned with the hammer. The mom was shot in the head with a BB gun. Mm-hmm. She was beat in the head with the BB gun.
And her throat was stuck in her mouth.
Yes, their throat was slit. And they were there for a long time. This wasn't a quick murder. This wasn't a quick, stop and let me leave. They sat with them for a long time.
They didn't have no nosy neighbors because my neighbors would have.
Why weren't they yelling?
My neighbors would have called the police.
My
neighbors are nosy.
Well, somebody heard of it, but they didn't. They didn't. Whatever. So anyway, so the teacher, his alibi checked out. So they're like, maybe it's not Tina. Maybe she's not the suspect. And
mind you, in Keddie, it's like this little resort type place.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are lower income live there. And Sue, she doesn't really have any money, so they were living in poverty. They were doing what they could.
She was making $200 a month.
Yeah, and that's why they have to go to this small little cabin. And so they started knocking on doors in the cabin, and they find out two cabins down is Bobo Betty, and
give me 5 seconds, y'all.
Her daddy calling. So a couple doors down was Bobo Betty. I like saying that name.
Bobo Betty. But get this, he lived with
Martin Smart.
His son was the little boy that was in the cabin.
He was one of the little two boys. He was their friend that was not harmed. Now, rumors got out there that Martin's wife and him was having some problems. So he went to Sue. Well, she went to Sue, for advice. And Martin didn't like that. Allegedly.
Sue already came from an abusive relationship. So
here's my question: if she getting beat, why you gonna go? If she was in an abusive relationship, why would you go get advice from her?
I don't know. But that's why Sue's advice was leave now, leave town. Because she's been in that situation. So, of course, her thing is going to be like, just leave town.
But how long was Sue getting beat for? She got 4 kids by this dude.
5 kids. She was getting beat for a while.
Stop going to your friends for advice if they in messed up relationships.
But she did leave, though. She did leave. But it was
a million kids later.
It was because the dad started touching the girls.
Exactly.
So when the girls were in danger,
at least she,
some women don't even leave when the children are in danger. So at least she moved out of the situation. But
just don't get beat. Once they hit you once, they gonna hit you again. Get out.
Run.
So speculation was that Martin didn't like the advice that Sue was giving his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where it gets deep. Martin and the sheriff, or Marty, they called him,
friends,
homeboys. So,
and then Bo.
Was they all the homeboys?
Yeah, Bo liked Sue. He made advances on Sue multiple occasions, and she turned him down on multiple occasions. So there's that is his motive for the situation.
People can't take rejection. So they all friends. So it's speculation that this case has been botched from the beginning. Do I think so? Yo.
Oh, and get this. At the crime scene, they let Sue's brother, come into the crime scene
and touch stuff
to identify the bodies. Who let you walk into the crime scene to identify bodies? You identify the bodies at the morgue.
Just by you walking in the crime scene, that contaminates the crime scene. And when you go to trial, he could easily say, "Oh boy, planted this."
Yes, he could have dropped the knife. He could have dropped the hammer. He could have. Why would you let him identify the bodies in the house?
And you didn't even need to do that because the daughter
they're in their house.
The daughter already said, "That's my mama. That's my brother. That's his friend."
They're in their house. Like, who else would be in the house? But anyways,
so that's one thing. And another thing is, the cop tried to downplay his relationship with Marty. He tried to say, I don't need cancel the one.
It was rumored that he even lived with Martin for some time.
The town only got 66 people.
Stay home.
How y'all not know each other? Y'all got 66 people in your town.
So
Lancaster got how many?
Thousands.
And I know about 99. most of them went to AV.
We know about 66 people in this town.
I know more than 66. I know 66 people at Walmart right now.
I know 66 people at my job. Like, exactly. I just at my job. So, anyways.
I went to school with half my job, literally.
We're just trying to, give you guys this. 66 people is not a lot of people.
And he's trying to downplay that he knew him. He's saying that he only talked to Marty and his wife one time about their marriage. So not only is he the sheriff, he's the counselor too of the town.
I guess. Apparently.
So he downplayed it or whatever. Years later, the case got reopened, and the new sheriff in town found letters from Marty to his wife.
Oh, let's not forget when they first interviewed them. They interviewed Martin and Bo together.
Oh yeah, together.
Who interviews together? So they interviewed them together. Bo kind of slipped and said Justin wouldn't be there if Marty wasn't there to protect him. So you put Marty at the crime scene, right? So then they tried to do the polygraph test. They both passed. Polygraph test doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
You could pass the polygraph test. Just stay calm.
I
did not say that. Don't know how to pass polygraph test.
Most sociopaths and psychopaths they can pass them because they feel like what they did is no right. They can lie. They have no conscience basically. So that doesn't mean anything. So anyways, they let him go. Go ahead, walk off. Basically with the confession, they didn't put it in.
No,
nothing.
So later on, they open up this box. The new sheriff opened up this box. Is like, Sheila is like, it's like almost 25 years, and my family's murders have still not been solved.
Yeah.
So the new
35 years.
The new sheriff, I'm almost
35 years.
So the new sheriff opens the case up and finds a letter from Marty to his wife, and it states, "I've already killed 4 people for you, and you're leaving me. What more do you want?" The 4 people were the 4 people in the house. But was he picked up? No. That gets deeper.
Oh, he died in 2000. He was dead by the time they found the box.
But before that, he moved to Reno, Nevada.
Right after
he moved to Reno, Nevada.
Right after they got investigated, him and Bo moved to Reno, Nevada. It was rumored that they were told to leave.
Yeah.
So FBI, okay, this part we forgot. FBI came in because of missing child. So of course the FBI came in. FBI was like, you know what? The state police got this. We don't need to leave. And left. State police didn't have shit because what did they do? It took 2 hours to look for the little girl.
It took 3 years to find her remains. And it's not just like they found it. Someone called in and said, "Hey, Tina behind the bushes."
Yes.
80 miles away in the next town.
And also the night of the murder, Bo and Martin's wife went to a bar. Right? They supposedly asked Sue to come. Sue said no. So they went to the bar. They got upset at the bar because they were playing the music too loud.
I think they were trying to get Sue out the house.
Maybe. So they went to the bar. They left because the music was too loud. They got upset.
How the music too loud at a bar?
They went back, Bo and Martin, but tell me this. They went back, changed their clothes, and had a 3-piece suit on. Both of them had 3-piece suit on with sunglasses.
At the bar.
At the bar. So why did you leave? Change your clothes to a 3-piece suit.
They tried to give themselves alibi.
Yes, and this
by causing a ruckus at the club.
And the bar was the back door of Keddie. That's what it was called.
The back door.
So it was
we had a back door in Lancaster.
Y'all
They used to pop. The back door, they had drink specials. But anyways, so they found the letter, and then also Marty went to see a therapist because he really wanted his wife.
He had PTSD too,
and all this other stuff. So he tells the therapist. He tells her, "Well, I killed 4 people in my town
testified
to get my wife back."
He confessed. There's the word.
Confessed.
But yeah, he had PTSD. PTSD. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah.
So he had it. So that's why he had a therapist. So he was already messed up. So he confessed. So after Marty died, that's when the therapist came, because when they're alive, it's patient confidential. Yeah. They can't. So when he died, he went and told the police. They had this information in their hand. Even though he's dead, it's still put, they did not close the case. They could have closed the case. But
Bubba Betty ain't dead yet.
No, Bubba Betty died. And the thing is, rumor has it that he was working with the mob and all this stuff. So what happened when this documentary I watched, they were saying that he was in the witness protection because he was helping the state or whatever catch the mob, whatever. That's why they let this go.
Yeah.
Because they felt like the murders that they
will put him
it's out. Nothing. These little murders ain't nothing compared to who he can get in the mob. So that was just a theory that's why the state didn't do anything. Basically, they did not do anything in this case, and 4 people were murdered. And nobody did anything.
And also, Marty's wife got caught in multiple lies.
She said she found Tina's... And okay, you found Tina's sweater in your basement. Why would it take you this long to come show the police the sweater?
Yeah.
If I found a sweater of the little girl in my basement and you knew the little girl wasn't there...
And she said that Marty and Bobo Betty didn't know each other, but they was living together.
And then Bobo was lying, talking about he was the police in New York... A New York police force, and he got shot.
I think he really was.
They said the age didn't match. I don't know. He said the way
Bobo Betty, I think, is a made up name because he is I don't know, something is up with Bobo Betty because he had 6 different identities, and now he in witness protection. No, that's what's the dude's name on Dope Dirt that was in witness protection? I have no That's what Bobo Betty remind me of. Anybody, if y'all seen Dope Dirt, y'all know the dude that was doing witness protection. That's Bobo Betty.
But Bobo Betty died in 2000.
Well, both of them died. Bobo Betty is dead, and
Marty died in 1990.
But the cop that now the police officer now that's in charge, he said it's still 6 people that are in connection with these murders.
Yeah,
all 6 of those people are still alive, and he is working to prosecute all 6
because
of those
they
people.
Knew them. The sheriff now he knew the girls,
and he going after the sheriff, and he going after the wife because they covered up this murder.
And then of course, what are they gonna say? That Sue, she was drug trafficking. Sue was prostituting. Okay, Sue only made $200 a month.
Now, if she was drug trafficking, she ain't about to be living in that shitty ass cabin. Sue, is that right, Sue? Yes. Okay, something else like Sue. Sue. Well, if she was drug trafficking, she would have money. If she was prostituting, she would have money. Shelly said, "We've never seen multiple." Sheila. I'm drunk, y'all. Sheila said, "We've never seen men come in and out of this house." Of course. So then another theory. She was traumatized by the husband.
Another theory.
She didn't get them. She just left the husband too. So she was
from Connecticut. She was from Connecticut. Yeah. She drove all the way across the country. But another theory was Dana, the friend of Johnny. He
stole some drugs.
He stole some LSD or whatever. So they were thinking whoever's at the party followed them to the house or whatever. But
I feel like if his drug dealer did it, they would have got him. They wouldn't have killed all those innocent people.
No, and see the thing is, what I think it is, listening to the crime, Sue was the victim. Sue was the target. I think because Dana and Johnny was at a party. I think they came home and interrupted. They walked in because they were bound. They had no defensive wounds. They were bound right away. Sue had defensive wounds.
Like she was fighting.
So she was the victim she was the target victim. They walked in on it because they were bound right away. They were bound right away. And murdered bound. They bound them and then killed them.
Bobo Betty and Marty Smart had got prior convictions for like sexual assault on like minors. So I don't even think they killed Tina right away. I think
because why would you take Tina from the house?
I think Tina was alive for at least 2 years.
They had plans to do.
No, I think a year. I think Tina was alive for at least a year, and I think they were keeping her like somewhere because her remains were found 3 years later. And when they found her remains, it's because someone called in because they recently dropped them. Like they dropped them off. And then they waited, and then they like was going back to check to make sure, like, you know, rigor mortis and stuff set in, and she wasn't killed when the rest of the family was killed.
Because what reason would they took the little girl from the house because they went to do, you know, but
and they were pedophiles.
Yeah, it was. Gross. It's just so. And then Dana was strangled. He was manually strangled. He was the only one strangled. Johnny, his throat was slit. Yeah. So that was the cause of his death. And then they try to say that it wasn't sexually motivated, but she was naked from the nude down. Well, they said she wasn't raped, but regardless if she wasn't, it was sexually motivated. They undressed her.
Yeah, they tried to rape her, but she was fighting.
They undressed her. They shoved her underwears in her mouth. That's some kind of sexual motivation. It doesn't have to be you raped her. That's still a sexual motivating crime. But till this day, 35 years later, this case is still open. It's still open. It's still unsolved. They have not came to
Sheila and the two younger brothers still want answers. I feel those two younger brothers.
Completely okay. So the three little boys, the two sons said they didn't hear anything. Justin came. He came out. Like I said, he had a dream. He had a dream.
Oh, yeah, he said he had a dream.
He had a dream that he woke up. They were watching the Love Boat. And he was on the Love Boat, and he woke up. And he came out. And he seen. There was two guys. One had long hair and one was with a mustache and one was clean cut with the glasses. He walked out and Dana and Johnny were arguing with the two men. The two men took out out a pocket knife and stabbed Sue in the chest and slit her throat. Yeah. He never knew any of this. What happened in the crime? Like he didn't know.
He got hypnotized.
And there's actually blood on their door handle. So it's like, were they gonna go in the little boy's room? Or did he realize that his son was in the room?
They did tie up the little boys. They were tied up.
No, they were asleep. They were not touched.
I thought they were tied up.
They were asleep, untouched in that room.
I think they were going to go into the room,
and I think he realized his son in there because there was blood on the door handle, and there was only a little splat of blood on Tina's sheet. That's it. So I think because he had blood on his hand, and with all that stabbing and stuff, all that blood that's all over the floor.
There was blood on the ceiling.
It had to be some of the killer's blood is in there. It just sucks that back then they didn't have DNA testing.
No, it sucks that back then those cops sucked ass.
Oh yeah, but you still didn't have DNA testing. You didn't have none of that because in '81.
But they still could have got up the DNA and tested it later.
They didn't do anything. And no, there was they found a bloody fingerprint, and they found on the stair thing, and then they found a footprint.
Now, what's your theory of what happened?
My theory is that they went to the bar, they got drunk, they were just mad, pissed off. They decided, let's go visit Sue. Sue's trying to have my wife leave me.
Do you think the wife was in on it?
I think the wife knew what was happening. I don't know if she knew what they did at that moment, but I think when it happened, she knew that because she left him right after, the day after. Yeah. The day after the murder, she left her husband. So she might have not known what they were gonna do, but believe me, they came. Blood on the ceiling, blood on the. You think they no blood on your clothes?
They were
you don't think no blood on your hands? You don't think no blood anywhere? You have blood on the ceiling. That means blood squirted up. So there's no blood on you?
One of my kids at school had a bloody nose, and I had blood on my pants.
So where did they clean up at?
Well, at the cabin.
No, not at their cabin. I'm guaranteed they went
home. They didn't live with the wife. He was staying with Bobo Betty.
No, Bobo Betty was staying with Marty and the wife.
And the wife?
Yes.
Oh, I thought they was like...
No, Bobo was staying with him.
Like, I thought they was like the wife because they was going through stuff. Nope. So I thought the wife kicked him out and he was
Bobo was leaving with Marty and the wife. And so they brought Tina. They brought Tina to the basement because she already said Tina's sweater was down there. She didn't tell. She left though. She's like, I'm leaving. I don't want to be involved in this. Instead of her telling,
she left.
She left. She knew. Why would you leave him the day after? But you didn't leave him the day before. You didn't leave him a week ago. You didn't leave when you go talk to Sue. You didn't leave when Sue told you to leave. Mm-hmm. But you're gonna leave the day after the murder.
All these people were murdered.
But my thing is, they were drunk that night. They were just bored. Let's go visit Sue. And they went to Sue's house. Bo probably tried to make advances on her again. She was like, nah. So then they continued, and they had a BB gun. Like, they shot her in the temple with the BB gun. So I'm thinking the tussle happened. The sons walk in. They grabbed the sons. They tied them up right away. Because they had to tie them up right away. They had no defensive wounds. They didn't try to fight them. So they tied them up right away. Continued to whatever they did with Sue because they were there for a while. And they bent a knife. No, I was listening to this one documentary. The guy was like, well, that's not that impressive because when you use a spoon to do ice cream bend. Okay, but you got to do it hard to bend that spoon. You just don't, unless you got a cheap spoon, you literally have to go hard. Thank you.
That's the same one that he was like, if he seen a bloody man in the woods, he would just mind his business. This, like, people.
That really pissed me off. That is, you stab somebody hard enough to bend a knife backwards.
Break it.
Bent the knife. That means you hit straight bone. That is.
He was like, yeah.
He's like, I don't know why people keep emphasizing that when you put a spoon in the ice cream, but you got to do it hard. I've been bit many spoons, but that shit is hard.
No, that ice cream got to be.
It gets frozen, right? So, shut up, nigga.
Okay. So my theory on what happened is, I think it was Marty, Bobo Betty, the teacher, and after the fact, Marty's wife.
I do believe there was a third person. Somebody was guilty enough to call.
And I believe that person that called was the teacher. Because he was infatuated with her to the fact that he wanted justice for her, but he wanted her to himself. So the fact that her remains were found 3 years later, 3 years and 9 days after the parents were murdered, I felt like he was keeping her somewhere for himself. And then finally, whoever was like, yo, you got to end this. And I feel like Tina's death was an accident. I feel like the teacher accidentally killed Tina.
And they never said how she was killed.
Yeah.
They just found her
They just said they found her remains, and an anonymous caller called in and said, hey, Tina's skull is.
And there was no blunt force trauma to the skull. No. There was no, that's so they
There was no, and why I feel like Bobo, Betty, and Marty was talking to their homeboy, which was a teacher. And the teacher was like, yo, if y'all go in there and do this, bring me the girl. And I'll front y'all some money. Because I
still believe there was more than two people. Because when they came in and the two boys were there, if that third person, say that Marty and Bo is doing what they're doing to Sue, right? Mm-hmm. And the boys come in, that third person.
Remember, these are teenage boys and then grown men.
Yeah, but
and then these are grown men that they know. So they're like shocked. And then,
yeah.
Yeah. So, I believe that the teacher was in on it. I believe that Marty got mad that Sue was telling the wife, leave this dog ass trash. And he got drunk with Bobo Betty. Bobo Betty was like, I want some ass. And he was like, I'm down to do whatever. Because he's already like a con man.
And then both of them came from the Vietnam War. So they were already messed up. They already seen stuff, been through stuff, done stuff. And they were just screwed up anyway.
So I think they got drunk. And then Marty got mad because he probably tried to go home and get some from the wife. The wife was like, get away from me. So he went up, he got Bobo Betty. And then they went, did their thing or whatever. They was only going to go there for Sue. The boys walked in and caught him or whatever, right? So then they tied up the boys and strangled them and killed them. And I believe that prior conversations led them to the teacher, and the teacher wanted Tina. So they got Tina, took her out of her bed, and took Tina to the teacher. And the teacher was like, let me help y'all cover this up. Teacher called the sheriff. The sheriff told the sheriff what went down. And that's why the sheriff was in no rush to look for Tina, because he knew she was not there.
Yes.
I knew from the jump. I feel like from the jump, the sheriff knew
Tina
wasn't there. That's why he wasn't trying to look for her, because his homeboy had already tipped him off. Tina in my basement, and I'm doing whatever I want with her. So the sheriff now is trying to prosecute the sheriffs back then, the wife,
anybody involved,
and I think the teacher too is a suspect. So he's really trying to get these people, but by those officers being crap, and you know, back in the 80s, you can murder somebody, give a cop $200, you off. They don't know nothing.
Especially
they lost evidence.
Especially in a small town, and they never even dealt with a murder like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and they don't want other people involved in my little town. This is my little town. I can deal with my little town.
In this case, they all were in on it. I feel like that whole town of Keddie,
except those two police, they were, because they told them too. The sheriff told him, if you focus on this case anymore, you will lose your job.
Yeah.
So he told him to leave this case alone. Don't investigate this case any further. I will do it. And if I find out you are investigating this case, you're fired. Because he know those two were really wanting to find out who did it. Mm-hmm. They weren't involved in it.
And this was in 2016, and they're still telling them stop looking.
But see, now the guy, he's a sheriff now. So now
he's running stuff. But now he's like, I'm reopening this case. But back then, when he was just, you know, a normal beat cop, they was like, I'm gonna fire you if you keep looking into it. Mm-hmm. And you wanna know why? Because it's protecting his homeboy.
Yep. And they described that after the Keddie died, they used to have tourists come in the little town. They try to make it a little mining town or whatever. After that, that's why at that time, I think it happened, it was more than 66 people. Today, it's 66 people. Before it was like 100. That's still
nothing.
Like 100 people. But now it's 66 people.
And people like us will go to the cabin and try to stay there. And there were squatters there, so they tore that cabin down. The other cabins are still there, though. They just tore down cabin 28. Yes. That is the gruesome, unsolved Keddie murders.
Oh, and there's a couple movies made. So if you guys ever seen The Stranger, they said that was kind of based on Cabin 28. And then there's a movie, Cabin 28.
Cabin 28. So that one is more like serial killer.
I watched, with the clown. Like The Stranger's kind of, but with the mask kind of killer, because I'm pretty sure that Marty and them didn't come with mask. But
I think they just went in there and just murdered.
He knocked on the door. Probably was like, "Hey, Sue, you got some sugar?"
Yeah, because I think Bo was like, "Hey, Sue,
I'm telling you,
do tonight?"
I'm telling you,
Sue was like, "Get off me."
They went in there with the conversation. Went in there talking to her,
and then they started arguing. Then that's
because the little boy
Justin, Michael Myers.
Oh yeah, the little boy Justin, Marty's smart son, he was hypnotized later on,
and that's when he told the story.
Yeah. Because first he said it was a dream.
Yeah.
But the two little boys, one was 10 and one was 5. They were.
I don't think the 5-year-old knew, and I think the 10-year-old was too.
Yeah, and when the neighbors, when Sheila, when Sheila found them, she ran back. The neighbors got the little boys and they took him out the window
because they didn't want them to see the scene.
Yeah, and then he didn't want to disturb the scene. He had more
knowledge than the
cops, but. So that is the case of Keddie. I see y'all don't comment. Can y'all please comment?
No, we did have a comment. Jay Smith.
Yes, thank you. But please comment. We love the interaction. We love to hear what y'all think. We love to interact with y'all. So tell us what you think about this case. What is your theory? Who do you think did it? How do you think it happened?
Do you think it was a cover-up?
We will love to hear from you. Don't be shy. We won't judge you. Just comment. Just comment.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh yeah, and we got long sleeve ones.
Oh yeah, we got long sleeve shirts now. Well, I got half sleeve. She got long.
I got long sleeve. Anyways, so we will see you guys. Oh, if you guys are not subscribed, subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. Yeah, share this video. You know what I'm saying? Other serial killer lovers, true crime lovers, just share the video. We love to spread our knowledge in our pretty faces. But anyways. I see you guys in our next video.
It was a nightmare.